Reverend Barber, I made the point to Senator Tim Kaine that, and I'm reading Nick Cotz's book right now on the relationship between LBJ, or Judgment Days, between LBJ and Dr. King. And they effectively used clergy to put pressure on conservative Republicans, those moderate Republicans. They knew the white segregationists were not going to do anything on the Democratic side. And they literally had bishops, Catholic bishops, Episcopalian bishops, and others going after them. And it is stunning how these evangelicals, where you hear nothing from the Ralph Reeds of the world, nothing from the Tony Perkins of the world, you hear nothing from James Robinson, nothing from any of these people, but they dare call themselves Christians.
Pro-life. And we know that this health care bill, a Harvard study said that for every 500,000 people denied Medicaid, about 2,500 people will die. That's a kind of political violence, political murder.
But you saw it in North Carolina when the state refused to have Medicaid expansion, when they shut down those rural hospitals. Was a white woman who died, one of the first ones who died.
Was 35 years old, died 10 minutes from the hospital that had been shut down in a high school parking lot that had been shut down because of the denial of Medicaid expansion. And Roland, what we're saying today as leaders, there have been a number of people that are coming, religious leaders, Jews, rabbis, Tracy Blackman, Jennifer Butler, and others. It's time for clergy to step up on both sides. I mean, how can clergy come and pray for the president yesterday and not say a word about these policies that are preying, P-R-E-Y, on the lives of the most vulnerable people? We're talking about sin. I mean, we're going to do civil disobedience today. We're not just marching. We're going to McConnell's office. We're talking about, you have not seen this kind of transfer of wealth since slavery. You know, in 1860, the economic cost for slaves, they said, was $5 billion. We're talking about $700 billion. You're talking about 5 million black people who gained access through the Affordable Care Act that it will be in jeopardy. Talking about 13 million black people on Medicaid. We're talking about thousands of people dying. We're talking about pre-existing conditions. Medicaid, you're talking about children and disabled people and working poor people and poor people. I mean, there's a scripture that says, Isaiah 10, woe unto those who legislate evil and rob the poor of their rights and make women and children their prey. That's not a left or right position. That's straight out of Isaiah chapter 10. And then you go to the New Testament. Jesus said, you're going to be judged by how you care for the sick. Now, some people say, well, we need to fix Obamacare. I agree. We need universal health care. Since the United States of America is the only one of the major OECD countries that does not offer universal health care. President's in Paris today, France, universal health care. He went to Rome to talk to the Pope. Italy, universal health care. Saudi Arabia, universal health care. Israel, universal health care. So I believe, man, we're really talking about a moral deficit. And that's why we're going to say it's time for clergy leadership to come to D.C. It's time for people to step up.
Reverend Barber, to Roland's point about the book he was reading, we know more and more Americans are stepping away from traditional religion. Does clergy have the same power and impact to move folks in the halls of Congress that it did during that period of time?
I think so if you step up. You know, what we learned in the Moral Monday movement is when we stepped up, 17 of us went in on April 29, 2013. By the end of the summer, nearly 1,000 people have been arrested. The next year, 80,000 people showed up. This past year, the moral movement, we had 100,000 people in the street. So yes, we still have that power, but you have to come out of the pulpit and get back in the public square. There are 2,500 scriptures in the Bible. They talk about love, justice, and how you treat the poor and the least of these. There are only about 3 about homosexuality, and most of those we misinterpret, and it doesn't trump the scripture that says you got to love your neighbor as yourself. So what's happening is we have had a hijacking. We have theological malpractice and heresy going on by the so-called evangelical right. I don't like to use the word right because I think that theology is so wrong. What we're talking about is basic orthodox faith, stepping back in the public square.
Yeah. And you know, it is obvious that the more people come forward and the more people press that we have to have balance in this bill, the more confusion happens with our leaders in terms of their level of consciousness for moving fast versus holding back. So I appreciate what you all are doing. My question to you is this: we've got left wing, right wing moving in different directions, forgetting about the bird in the middle, which is the American people. How do we get the legislators to look at this more from a moral standpoint?
I got 90 seconds for you to answer this, Michael's question, then another answer.
First of all, we got to change the language from left, right to the moral center. Second of all, we're talking about legislators who get basically free health care because they get paid by the American people, not wanting the American people to have the same thing that they have. We got to humanize this. We got to stop talking about 22 million people and talk about, for instance, Reverend Brigham, and the young man, a pastor who's walking to D.C. from North Carolina today because his daughter is sick with hydrocephalus and would not get health insurance if this is this real. It's about real people.
Michael, real quick.
Really quickly, Reverend Barber, I just want to ask you, you talk a lot about morality. Can you expand a little bit more and talk about the moral obligation of leaders as it pertains to things such as health care?
And I literally got 20 seconds.
Okay, I go straight to Jeremiah 22 where it says, warn the leaders. When you have power, do not hurt, murder the innocent, take care of the poor, take care of the needy. Leaders have a tremendous responsibility to use power to uplift people and not to destroy their lives. This bill is an example of political destruction, and we have to stop.